I still remember the moment she looked down at the floor and whispered, "No one marries a widow with 2 kids." There was no anger in her voice, no self-pity, just the quiet sadness of someone who had spent years believing she wasn't enough. The people around us pretended not to hear her, but I did. And what I said next changed not only her life, but mine as well. Before we begin, welcome to American Human Stories, where every story reminds us that one act of kindness can change a life forever. If stories like this touch your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your support helps us share more stories that inspire hope and compassion. My name is Nathan, and this happened 3 years ago in a small town in Ohio. Every Saturday morning, I volunteered at the local community food pantry. It wasn't because I had a lot of free time. I simply believed that if life had been kind to me, I should pass that kindness on. One rainy morning, I noticed a woman standing outside with 2 little girls. The younger one held her hand tightly while the older one stayed close, trying not to get wet. Their clothes were clean but worn, and the older girl's shoes had a hole near the toe. When the doors opened, I greeted them with a smile. "Good morning. Come on in." She smiled politely but barely spoke. I later learned her name was Claire. Over the next few months, Claire came every Saturday. She always thanked every volunteer, never asked for extra help, and made sure her daughters said please and thank you. One afternoon, while carrying groceries to her old minivan, I asked if she needed help loading the bags. She hesitated before saying, "Thank you. It's been a long week." That simple sentence became our first real conversation. Claire told me her husband had died in a construction accident 4 years earlier. Overnight, she became a single mother to 2 young daughters. She worked 2 jobs, skipped meals whenever money was tight, and spent every spare dollar making sure her girls never went without school supplies or warm coats. "What about you?" she asked. I shrugged. "I teach high school history. I live alone. My parents are gone, and volunteering helps me feel connected." From that day forward, we talked every Saturday. Sometimes we laughed about funny stories from work. Sometimes the girls told me about school. Little Sophie proudly showed me every drawing she made. Ava loved softball and dreamed of becoming a veterinarian. Without realizing it, I had started looking forward to Saturdays more than any other day of the week. One evening, the community center hosted a holiday dinner for local families. Volunteers and guests sat together sharing food and conversation. Claire looked happier than usual. The girls were laughing, and for the first time I saw her relax. As we cleaned up afterward, she quietly said something that broke my heart. "I should probably stop getting used to people being kind." I looked at her. "Why?" "Because kindness usually ends when people realize what comes with me." I didn't understand. She looked toward her daughters. "No one wants to marry a widow with 2 kids." Her voice was barely above a whisper. She wasn't asking for sympathy. She truly believed it. Without thinking, I smiled. "They haven't met you." She stared at me, confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean, anyone who sees only your past is missing the strongest, kindest woman I've ever met." Her eyes filled with tears. No one had ever spoken to her that way before. Our friendship slowly became something deeper. I never tried to replace her late husband. The girls already had a father they loved and missed. I simply wanted to become another person they could count on. I attended Ava's softball games. I helped Sophie build a diorama for a school project. I hung Sophie's artwork on my refrigerator because she loved seeing it there. Months passed, and our lives naturally blended together. One afternoon, Claire admitted she was scared. "What if people judge us?" "They probably will," I answered honestly. "But people always have opinions. They don't get to decide how we build our family." A few weeks later, I invited them to dinner at my house. After dessert, Ava suddenly asked the question everyone had been avoiding. "Do you love our mom?" The room became completely silent. I looked at Claire, then back at the girls. "Very much." Ava asked another question. "If you marry her, will you still come to my games?" I wouldn't miss one. Little Sophie climbed onto my lap. "Then I think you should marry mommy." Everyone laughed through happy tears. 6 months later, I proposed during a picnic at the same park where the girls loved feeding ducks. Before Claire answered, she looked at her daughters. They were already smiling. She whispered, "Yes." Our wedding wasn't expensive. It took place in the community garden where many volunteers had become close friends. People from the food pantry decorated the tables with flowers they had grown themselves. Ava walked her mom down the aisle. Sophie scattered flower petals with the biggest smile I had ever seen. When Claire reached me, she quietly repeated the words she had once whispered months earlier. "I never believed someone would choose all of us." I gently squeezed her hand. "I didn't choose around your family. I chose your family." There wasn't a dry eye among the guests. Today, our house is louder than I ever imagined. Homework covers the kitchen table. Softball gear is scattered across the yard. Sophie's artwork fills nearly every wall. Life isn't perfect. There are busy mornings, unexpected bills, and plenty of challenges. But every night when we sit together for dinner, I'm reminded that the greatest blessings rarely arrive in the packages we expect. People often ask if I saved Claire and her daughters. They're wrong. They saved me. They gave my quiet house laughter. They gave my lonely life purpose. They reminded me that love isn't about finding someone with no baggage. It's about finding people worth carrying life's burdens with. Kindness isn't always giving money or offering charity. Sometimes kindness is seeing someone's value after the rest of the world has stopped looking. Sometimes it's believing in someone until they can believe in themselves again. And sometimes the most life-changing words anyone can hear are simply, "They haven't met you." If this story reminds us of anything, it's that every person person deserves to be seen, valued, and loved, not despite their past, but because of the strength they found while living through it. The smallest act of kindness can restore hope, rebuild a family, and change lives forever. So wherever you are today, choose kindness. You never know whose future might begin with a few caring words. If this story moved you, hit that like button, subscribe to American Human Stories for more real-life stories of love and kindness, and drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from. Your support means the world to us and helps this story reach someone who needs it today.